time to be setting your intentions. The new moon eclipse is coming up, and it's the absolute number one time to be setting your intentions. So the question is, are you ready to round out 2021 yet? Have you had enough of this year? Oh my goodness. 2022 is going to be so much better. The stars are so much better. Okay, so I'm going to be talking about how to set intentions. Plus, I'll be doing one-on-one personal readings for anyone who managed to get through. Well, not for anyone who managed to get through, hopefully for 2 or 3 people. But if you ring up, and you'll be put on hold until we take a call, and hopefully I'll take at least 2 or 3. So again, the number from the USA, 816-251-3555. The number from the UK, if you have a phone that will allow you to dial the USA without costing you an arm and a leg, is 0011 816-251-3555. And if you happen to be up in Australia, someone told me they were going to wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning to listen in today. 0011 816-251-3555. So it's the same number. It's just the different ways of getting onto the international calls. So yes, there we go. I would love to speak to you, and I would love to talk to you about the magic of intention setting. I've just realized, guys, I'm so sorry, I'm on a new computer and I do not have the stack installed. So that's going to make it very difficult for me to take people's calls. Hang on, I'm just going to have to sorry, I'm just really flying by the seat of my pants at the moment. I'm going to have to talk to Alexa. Alexa, please make an announcement. I'm so sorry, guys, this is really unprofessional of me, but
announcing.
No, okay. Oh God, it's like the universe is just telling me. Alexa, make an announcement. Olivier, darling, can you please bring down my old computer? Now Alexa will say that.
Announcing.
Here she goes. I'm so sorry, guys. I feel awful about this. All right, while hopefully Olivia gets that message and brings down my computer so I can take your calls, let's talk about intentions and why they are so important, and why now is a really, really important time to be doing them. The long and the short of it is, right now we are in the waning cycle of the moon. As you might have been feeling it, the moon's getting smaller in the skies every night. It's time to let things go, breathe out. Okay, if you have had upsets, if you've had dramas, it's the time to be just letting it all go. However, very soon we will have the new moon eclipse. The new moon eclipse. Now, new moons are always really good for setting intentions, but this one in particular, taking place on the 4th of December, depending on where you are in the world, I'll give you the times a bit later, hopefully. This one is massive because it's an eclipse. So a new moon is always important for setting intentions. A new moon eclipse is that on steroids. All right. So what does that mean to set intentions? Well, for one thing, when we set intentions, it requires us to decide what we want, and to decide what we're committing to, and to decide where our intentions lie. So while it's all very well to sort of, think, oh yeah, like, oh, I wish I had more money, say, if you might wish that. It's all very well to think, I wish I had more money. But what you actually need is to have some kind of plan, okay, and some kind of commitment that you're willing to make to yourself about how you're going to make this money. So say, for example, you've decided that you want to start a business, okay. I know she's watching right now. I won't say your name. T. I had a lovely reader of mine who I've got to know a little bit on Facebook write to me the other day saying, I actually offered to do her reading, and I said, just ask me anything. What do you want to ask me? She said, okay, will my new business be a success? And I'm like, because I'm very down to earth and practical. I have quite a lot of earth in my chart. I said, oh, well, before I answer that, what have you actually done towards your business? And with all due respect and lots of love, T, the answer came back, not much yet, apart from having the idea. So this is really important. This is a really important thing to do. It's all very well to set intentions about, I want my business to be a success, but you have to start to do it. I had another call this morning with another friend who was saying to me, she knows what she has to do in her business, but it's just so hard because this year's been so difficult, and it has been really difficult for her. She's been through some really rough stuff. But at the same time, she's also had plenty of time, to get stuff doing. And sometimes it's easy to throw yourself into your work. What I'm saying is it's all very well to set intentions and trust the universe and all that. But you do have to balance it with good old-fashioned hard work. And I really, really want to give that message out today, because I don't want to be giving out a message that's like, oh, my God, there's a new moon eclipse coming. Just make a wish and everything's going to happen by magic. It's not like that. It's actually that when we get to the new moon, it's said that the veil between the worlds is at its thinnest. So it's actually easier to send our wishes out into the cosmos. But it's not just about making a wish. It's actually about what you feel inside, what you really believe. So do you believe that you are worthy of what you want to do? So just say again with my friend T, just say she wants to start a business. Does she feel she's worthy? Well, probably, or maybe, I don't know, maybe she grew up, with parents who said, you'll never amount to anything, you're no good, you're just like your father, or whatever negative things that parents sometimes say to their children. One of the reasons why it's so important to start to take the steps and to do the work is because then you start to know, actually, you know what, this is amazing. I actually do have something to offer people. I actually can change people's lives. I know that T wants to do something in the spiritual sphere. So I was writing about this actually just on the weekend. I got inspired and I broke it down into the woo and the work, the woo-woo and the work. The woo-woo and the work. So the woo-woo is knowing when the new moon is, knowing it's a new moon eclipse, so it's a really powerful time for wishing. And also doing woo-woo things like, going into a state of gratitude and starting to be grateful for all that you have before you then go on to make your wishes about what you want. Also things that will boost your self-esteem, like, for example, having to think about what you've already achieved and celebrating what you've already achieved in your life. So you start to build yourself up and start to think, you know what, I can actually do this. I'm not that bad. Doesn't matter what my parents said to me. I'm actually not doing too badly. So, and then that sort of feeds into the work, which is then doing things like, for example, mapping out a vague business plan. I mean, you may do a really good one, but it only has to be a vague one. And, and that actually helps you manifest, okay? So just say it is because you want to start a new business, or say you want to write a spiritual book, or you want to write a book at all, or you want to start a healing center or anything like that. Making out a business plan, what does that do? It actually makes you stop and think, okay, does this thing actually have legs? Am I going to be able to pull this off? Is it realistic? What qualifications do I feel that I need that I don't have yet? Or do I think, you know what, I already know what I'm doing? It makes you ask questions like that. So you start to look at actually how to do the nuts and bolts of it. So T, if you're still listening, that's a thing for you to do with your new business. Write a business plan. How much will you charge? How many sessions will you have to do a week in order to earn the money that you need to pay your rent or your mortgage or whatever? Start to think ahead, and then you start to see, well, gosh, I'm going to have to charge at least X if I want to pay my mortgage with this. I don't know. I don't think T works full time. Maybe she does, but I don't think she does. So she, if you're working full time and you're going to be trying to do your new business full time or write your book full time, how many chapters a month do you think you can manage? How many words a day can you manage? Do your chapter by chapter breakdown. So it really is about the woo-woo and the work. And that's my new thing of the month. And it's very lucky that it's come up for me now because it works perfectly with the fact that we are going to be going into the new moon eclipse. Okay, so just a few tips for you. I'm also going to tell you where the new moon eclipse is taking place for you. Where the new moon eclipse is taking place for you. Now, I'm going to ask you to listen to your rising sign. And before I tell you where it is, I'm going to tell you why I'm telling you that. Okay, and here's why. Because when you have your chart drawn up by an astrologer, when you go and you pay your money and you tell them your time, date, and place of birth, they draw up your chart, okay? And what they do is they put your rising sign at more or less, like, if the chart's like a circle, it looks like a clock, so they put it more or less at where 9 o'clock would be, okay? So you've got your rising sign, and that's your first house, and then on your second house will be the sign, whatever the next sign is along. The signs always go in the same order. So if you're Aries rising, it'll be Taurus will be number 2, or if you're Leo rising, Virgo will be number 2. If you're Capricorn, Aquarius will be number 2. All the 12 signs go around in your chart in a circle, anti-clockwise, depending on which sign is your rising sign. And then your sun, which is, if you say I'm a Leo, that means I'm a Leo sun, or I'm a Scorpio, it means I'm a Scorpio sun. Your sun will be somewhere in the chart. It could be anywhere. It could be any of the 12 houses. So, for example, if you were a Leo with your sun in the 12th house, but Virgo rising, then you could say I'm a 12th house Leo with Virgo rising. Or if you were a Gemini in the 5th house. Anyway, you get the picture. So it's really important to know your rising sign, because now the information I'm about to give you, if you know your rising sign, you can actually apply it the same way that you would apply the information about where the eclipse is if you were in a one-on-one meeting session with an astrologer. Okay, so it's not just like going off your sun sign, which is a little bit random. It's actually going off your rising sign. If you don't know your rising sign but you wish that you did, then go to moonmessages.com/free chart. moonmessages.com/free chart. And that information is on the 3rd page. You will find out your rising sign. And actually, when you go down the list, you'll see which house Sagittarius rules. And that's where you're getting this blast of new eclipse energy. But let me explain it for you in brief, okay? So if you are Aries rising or Aries, it's doing your sun sign is okay, but it's really a quick fix. That's what my first astrology teacher told me. Your rising sign is the real deal. Sun sign, your star sign, is more or less a quick fix, okay? So if you're Aries or Aries rising, then the new moon taking place in the sign of Sagittarius is in your 9th house, which is the part of your chart, which is all about travel and study. Okay, so basically, wherever it is for you, when you listen in the next minute or two while I go through these, that's where you're getting a massive, massive blast of new energy in your chart. If you're Taurus or Taurus rising, then the new moon is taking place in your 8th house, okay? Now, this is a very interesting part of the chart because it's to do with 2 very interesting subjects. Are you ready? Sex and money. So you're getting a new blast of energy to do with sex and or money in the coming 6 months. If you are Gemini or Gemini rising, well, hang on to your hormones because it's taking place in your 7th house, which is your love zone. So there's a big new blast of energy coming for you when it comes to relationships. If you are a moon child, Cancerian rising, then it's taking place in your 6th house, which is a really kind of underrated part of your chart, if you ask me. It's about where you do your daily life, which basically is everything, because our daily life, it's all the moments in our daily life that add up to everything. So you're getting a new blast of chart energy in your sixth house. So you might find that your routines change, your daily life changes. I once had an eclipse in my sixth house when I moved from being a journalist to being an astrologer. Okay, so that was a big change of circumstances for me. My daily life changed, obviously, very dramatically. It can also be about your health. So it can be a new start for you regarding your health. If you are Leo or Leo rising, it's your fifth house, which is to do with romance, creativity, and children. So there's a new start coming to you to do with romance, creativity, and or kids, your own or someone else's. Okay, if you're trying to get pregnant, it's a good sign. If you are Virgo or Virgo rising, it's taking place in your fourth house, which is home and family. So it can mean moving, it can mean a new family member, it can mean renovating. It's a new start for you in your private life in particular. Okay, it can be to do with flatmates. It's just to do with your private life, your domestic life. So if you are Libra or Libra rising, it's actually a really powerful one for you. It's taking place in your third house, which is your mind zone. Okay, your mind zone. So the way you think, the way you talk, the way you communicate, that's really important, okay, because it means it's a chance for you to change the way you think. And you change the way you think and you change your life. If you are Scorpio or Scorpio rising, it's taking place in your second house, which is to do with cash, property, and possessions, okay? So there's a change coming for you and a new start, a new blast of energy to do with cash, property, and possessions. Also, remember, this part of your chart is to do with self-esteem, okay? So if you've been undervaluing yourself, then don't be surprised if other people undervalue you too. So if you want to change the way people value you, value yourself more, really important. Now, if you are Sagittarius or Sagittarius rising, this new moon is really important to you because it's in the sign of Sagittarius. So it's a chance for you, especially if you're Sag rising, to change the way people see you, okay? So it can just mean you go out and, get a really radical haircut and change all your clothes. But it's more than that. It's more about changing the way you come across in the world. But at the same time, it is a really good time for a makeover, really good time to redo your website if you have a website, redo your business cards if anybody still has business cards, all that kind of thing. And I will also say, if you're Sagittarius and your birthday is plus or minus 5 days from December 4, then you are getting the new moon eclipse on your sun, especially if you're in the sort of end of November up to December 4. That means that the new moon eclipse is really activating your sun. So you can expect an extremely memorable year in the year ahead. Okay, if you're Capricorn rising or Capricorn, but especially if you're Capricorn rising, it's actually taking place in your 12th house, which is the part of your chart where you keep your spiritual self, your spirituality. So that's a really interesting thing for you because you can take a whole new start, a new direction in life in your spiritual self. So that's hugely important. If you're Aquarius or Aquarius rising, it's really big for you, especially if you're Aquarius rising, okay? Especially if you're Aquarius rising, because it's taking place in your 11th house of wishes. So the new moon, as I said before, is always a really important time to be making wishes. Like, you always want to make wishes at the time of the new moon. But when you have the new moon in your 11th house once a year, that's the most important time to be making wishes, because that's like when you get your supercharged wishing ability. And I can't remember who it is this month in the 11th house. Let me just see if I can curdle my brain. Is it Aquarius rising we're doing this month in the written in the stars? If you are, I think it's Aquarius rising, Aquarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, Pisces. No, I can't work it out. I'm no good at working that out in my head. If you're wondering if it's you, well, it must be. It must be Aquarius. What am I talking about? It's Aquarius. Yes, sorry. It's Aquarius. If you are Aquarius rising, I'm doing a webinar just for you this month. Sorry, I got myself confused there because it's taking place in your 11th house. And go to moonmessages.com/written, WRITTN, written, like written in the stars. Go to moonmessages.com/written and register for the class. Because, yes, if you are Aquarius, only if you're Aquarius rising, not if you're Aquarius. Because if you're Aquarius rising, it's taking place in your 11th house. And I want to show you how to make wishes that work at this most auspicious time. Even if it was just a new moon, it would be good. The fact that it's a new moon eclipse is mega. So, yeah, moonmessages.com/written for my Written in the Stars workshop. And finally, if you are Pisces rising or a Piscean, but especially if you're Pisces rising, it's actually going to be taking place in your 10th house, which is career. So if you want to give yourself a career boost, you know, you get a new moon eclipse, a new moon in your career zone every year at around about this time of the year, but it's not always an eclipse. That's for absolutely certain, okay? So the fact that you have this new moon eclipse in your chart of your Pisces rising, it's a really, really big thing. So really think, what do I want to achieve professionally in the year ahead? Or it may well be you're of an age when you want to retire, and that's absolutely fine too. So there we go. I hope that helps you. So just to sort of sum it up again, coming up on December the 4th, we have the new moon eclipse. It's going to be taking place in the sign of Sagittarius. I'm just looking at the chart for it here. It's going to be taking place in the sign of Sagittarius. So it's a really good time for everybody to broaden their mind. All of us can start to broaden our mind. There are some quite tense aspects around at the time, not least of which is a clash between Mars and Jupiter. So there could be a bit of anger in the air, but also there's actually a slightly more tightly aligned Mars-Pluto connection as well, which is hopefully it's time to take action, and action will really help us move in the right direction. So we're going to actually have to go to a break in a minute, but before we do, I'm just going to give you a little summary. Hang on, where's my phone gone? I need the phone. I'm going to give you a little summary about I'm confused now. I'm really confused. I'm going to give you, I actually think I'm only broadcasting on Facebook. I don't think it's worked on Unity, but let's wait and see. I just want to give you a little quick chat about this Omicron virus that everyone's been talking about. I did actually write a post on it, so you can always look at the post on my page, but I just want to summarize it for you. So as you know, the astrology for 2022 is looking so much better. It's looking about 1 million times better. And so when this whole thing came out with this new variant, I was like, oh no, how can that be? Because, you know, the next year looks so much better. Surely we're all going to be out of lockdown and out of COVID-19 paranoia. Surely it's not going to be better astrology, but we're all still stuck at home. That would be a little bit of a weird thing, an unexpected thing. So anyway, I was very happy to read, and I just want to pass this message on to people because I don't want people getting into a negative headspace. So the doctor in South Africa, Dr. Kurtzi, her name is, she found these people with the virus 11 days ago now. So they're 11 days into having COVID. And as someone who had COVID this year, I can tell you by the time you're 11 days in, you're almost out of it, okay? So she found these people having COVID. They tested positive, but they had really weird, mild symptoms. Mainly they just had muscle aches and tiredness. So she went and found out, got it tested, and she found out, yes, lo and behold, it's a new variant. And now, as we know, they've called it Omicron. And she's been interviewed and she said, listen, the main message I want to give people here is that the symptoms are really mild. Like these guys are 10 days, 11 days in, and their symptoms are really mild. And she said, it's not just me. She actually, because she's actually a head GP at some South African association. So she got in touch with other GPs, general practitioners in the area around her. She said, it's not just me. I've called other people in the area who've now realised that patients have got Omicron, and they're also reporting really mild symptoms. But wait, there's more. It actually could be really, really good news for the simple reason that this Omicron, which only is so far apparently producing mild symptoms, is actually more infectious, which means, I'll tell you after the break. Very chaotic. I'm very sorry, Louis. My apologies. I've changed computers, and yeah, no, it's all just been chaos here. I'm going to get my other computer so I can get the stack, because I don't have the stack on my new computer. See you all in a minute, guys. Oh, baby. Darling, do you mind bringing down my old computer, please? Oh, gosh. Sometimes it just, I do it every week, and I'm always prepared for it, because I get prepared for it weeks in advance. But sometimes the show just catches me by surprise, and then suddenly, bang, I'm on air, and things like, oh my God, I didn't realize that I don't have the, I did make an announcement on Alexa, but you missed it, darling. There we go. Don't tell all the Facebook. Ha ha, Barry, poor darling. I'm sorry, darling. I love you. Okay, where's my stack?
I didn't know it was live.
All right. Yeah, no, I didn't have the stack on this computer.
Ah, but last week you did upstairs.
I did it upstairs. So I couldn't take calls, and also I've managed to answer the phone on this phone. So
you cut the Facebook Live?
No, the Facebook Live is working, but I can't, for example, I can't see how long we've got. Oh, look, there we are. So we've got Pamela. Oh, Pamela. I've got Pamela. Pamela's actually from Facebook. She told me she was going to call in. Elizabeth, Tammy. We've got a wireless call. We've got Hayden in Arizona. If you want to call in, 816-251-3555. How is everybody today? It's been a bit chaotic today. I don't like it when it's like that. You're here. Thank you. Who's that saying that? Oh, Mindy. Okay, Mindy, you want to be in my video? Come on in. People say they want to be in my video. I bring them on and then they disappear. Let's see if Mindy's going to do it as well. Hi, Sally in NYC. We have no dance music. Yeah, now I'm trying to add you, Mindy, but it's not working. Elsa, doing really good. Elsa, please send me some Reiki, would you, darling? I need a bit of Reiki. Someone in Albuquerque. Oh, Kelsey bought the course. Yay! Yeah, we sold thousands in there. It was amazing. Very happy. I know it's going to be good. And on December 1, we have the first free in-course webinar. So get ready for that. Okay, I'm going to cancel that, Mindy, because Hey everybody, it's Yasmin here, back after the break. So just before we went to the break, I was talking about the new Omicron variant, and I'm talking about it in an astrological context, okay? So just to put it in context for anyone who's just joining now, basically the astrology for 2022 is looking much, much better than it was in 2020 and 2021. So we've all been like getting better, like here in the UK, everybody's kind of been going back to normal and everyone's all been feeling a lot more like, oh my gosh, maybe it really is going to be better. And the astrology for 2020 and 2021 was not good. So the fact that all that happened is not surprising. The astrology for next year is looking so much better. So now when this Omicron virus variant was discovered last week, I was a little bit in shock. But as I said before the break, the GP who discovered, who realized it was a variant because the symptoms were so different, had this family who'd all tested positive, but they just had very mild symptoms. And so far it seems to be mild symptoms. I mean, we can't, count our chickens, but she's also checked with other people in the area, and all the people with Omicron around where she is in South Africa have all had very mild symptoms, mainly muscle aches and tiredness. And nobody has ended up in hospital yet in South Africa, as far as I know, or maybe no one who's been vaccinated. Anyway, so it seems that this Omicron that's caused such a hoo-ha in the last 3 or 4 days, please God, touch wood, is a much, much milder variant. But wait, there's more, as I was saying just before the break. The thing is, what we know about Omicron is that it appears to be far more infectious than Delta, but with milder symptoms, okay? So the more infectious variant is the one that becomes the dominant variant. So, for example, Delta was more infectious than whatever it was before Delta. That's why we've only heard about Delta in the last 6 months or whatever, because Delta has been the dominant variant. And obviously it's actually been quite difficult. I had Delta. It was very difficult and I was pretty unwell. My family, my husband and my son thankfully also had it, but were not as unwell as I was. Anyway, the point is that because the variant is less severe, then there's a very good chance that if Omicron takes over as the dominant virus, okay, as the dominant coronavirus, then people will be getting less sick. Okay, so we'll have a dominant virus that actually has less severe, milder symptoms. Okay, milder is literally another word for less severe, and milder is the exact word that the GP in South Africa used. So hope and pray that Omicron is indeed milder and more infectious, because then it will become the dominant virus, and the dominant virus will therefore be less severe, milder, and then we can all make the most of the amazing astrology next year. There you go. I hope that makes sense. All right, so I am going to take a call now, please, Louis. May I go to Pamela on line 1? Because Pamela, I knew you were going to call in today. You told me. Hello, how are you? I can hear you. Can you hear me? So, Pamela, what can I tell you about today? Oh. All right, okay. So the first thing I want to do, just give me 1 second here. I'm very sorry that you've got this to deal with. Are you confident in your healthcare workers? And it wasn't true. And you know it's not SIBO. And now you don't think that's what it is? Okay, all right. All right. Look, looking at your chart, Pamela, you do have some pretty intense astrology happening. Basically, what's going on is you've got the planet of shocks and surprises, Uranus, going over your sun. So on the one hand, you've had this awful shock, you're going into hospital, you've got to deal with all these difficult issues. On the other hand, actually, Uranus is the planet that can really turn things around. So maybe going into hospital is actually the best thing that could happen for you to actually radically turn around this situation. I'm just going to take you a card, okay? A card for what you need to know about your health issues, okay? Just stay there. Stay there. Oh, okay, there's your card. If you're on Facebook, you can see it's literally just jumped out of the pack. Let's see what you've got. I'm so sorry you're going through this. Oh, interesting. Okay, this is, I know, I've realized I always say interesting, but it is always so interesting. So, Pamela, I have a message for you that's really important. I know the people on Facebook couldn't actually hear you talking because the way the things are set up this week. Will be back to normal next week. But what Pamela was saying is that she's been having terrible troubles with small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, and I think it's called SIBO, and also she was telling us doing number 2, going to the bathroom and doing number 2 and not being able to get it back out. Now, this is really, really interesting, Pamela. I had problems with number 2 actually after my father died, and my mother wanted to, at a certain point, I mean, it was probably 6 months later after he'd passed away, maybe even a bit longer, maybe 7 or 8 months, but she wanted to take all his stuff out of the house, and I mean, fair enough, she felt it was time to kind of pack it all up and see what we wanted, see what, whatever anyone else might want. And I had trouble doing number 2 for the very first time in my life. I've never had that kind of problem. I think I even ended up going to the hospital. I'm not sure, I don't remember now, but I felt like I nearly would have to. Now, why? Because I didn't want to let go of my dad. I was holding on, literally. I wasn't letting anything go. And I wasn't ready for dad's stuff to be thrown away or, given away or whatever. I was not ready. And I knew that I had to process life. I knew I had to understand. It had been 7-8 months. And of course, eventually my mum would feel that she needed to, start to move things on a bit. And so I worked on that. And as I worked on that, I then became able again to do number 2. This is a really fascinating conversation for everybody, I'm sure. Anyway, the card you have, Pamela, is all about this, okay? It's not about poo or number 2, but the card is, I'm afraid you can't see it on Facebook, it's leave the past behind. Leave the past behind. So what you need to do is you need to ask yourself, what in your past are you holding on to? Especially in anger, what in your past are you holding on to? Anger, upset, could be from your childhood, could be any time in your life. So the message is leave the past behind. And leaving the past behind will make you able to, you know, get your system moving again. Let me see if I can read this. So something is standing between what you want and how you can get it. That's okay. Now you know it's there. You can do something about it. You just need to be strategic. So you need to be strategic, but you also need to think, what in my past have I not processed, and I need to just let it all go. So there you go. Does that help, Pamela? Well, I don't think it's going to be about leaving the past behind in terms of leaving the good times. It's about thinking about what in your life has happened that was difficult that you need to process. So maybe you need to leave that fear behind, because fear, Pamela's saying, you know, she had COVID and pneumonia and she had a fear of dying. That can easily make you unwell. So maybe you need to leave that behind. All right. I'm just going to say, I'm going to finish on Facebook because I know you can't hear Pamela. If you want to hear Pamela, go over to unityonlineradio.org. I would like to talk to Pamela a bit longer, but I don't want Facebook to just be listening to nothing. So hop over to unityonlineradio.org if you want to hear the end of this conversation. Okay, lots of love, guys.